Good morning and welcome back to the second hour of LoveBabz, LoveTalk. Hey, Dr. Chaka Felder in the house. Good morning. Welcome.
You are jamming.
That's
the way to
because
start the day.
my producer Harry keeps me in good music.
Oh, yes, I love it. I love it.
Ooh, how are you?
I'm tired, but I'm good.
Listen, 20 years in, girl. 20 years.
Yeah.
Is that right? Higher Heights, 20 years?
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Listen, that lasted longer than my marriage. Let me tell you something.
I love it. Yeah, we're happy. We're very happy, very humbled. Just happy.
All right, so when you started this, because I met you 20 years, I met you just when you just arrived and you came to talk to me. I think I was running Jumpstart and you were like, this is what I want to do. And I was like, really? So when you had that dream, what was the dream? What was the dream initially?
So I've been comfortable now telling this story. I guess when you get older, you get more comfortable telling your story a little bit more because I didn't feel comfortable way back when. But I lived in Buffalo for about a little over 10 years. I went to undergrad in Buffalo. And I tell the story because, I'm a very spiritual person. God gave me a vision. I'm being totally honest with you, Babz. And one night I just wrote down higher heights. I literally wrote it all down on a yellow notepad. And I called it an empowerment center. I didn't have the name Higher Heights yet. I called it the Empowerment Center. And I wrote the entire model out. Then my fiance, who you love dearly, now my husband, Steven.
My cigar and drinking buddy.
He loves his cigars, boy. But then we moved to New Haven. I was recruited to work in New Haven, or work in the state actually, and took that notepad out. And I don't know. I went to an event on now it's Longwood, right in front of Hill Regional Career. Jackie James was an alderman back then, and I heard that she was bringing a Tribe Called Quest to New Haven, and I'm a Harlem girl, so a Tribe Called Quest means a lot to me. So I wanted to go see a Tribe Called Quest, and I just went down there, and they never showed up, but I got a chance to talk to Jackie, and I told Jackie what I wanted to do, and I had like this, how the old school science fair, like the 3-pronged science fair thing I had made. Like this 3-pronged thing, and I had like I don't know if it was called Higher Heights then. I had the name Higher Heights. I was sitting in church one Sunday, and the sermon was labeled Higher Heights, and I was like, oh, I received that. And I had a Higher Heights there, and I had this 3-pronged like folder display, like an old 3rd grader science fair. And I told Jackie James about it, and then she introduced me to her sister, Latrice James. And it just happened from there. And Latrice is one of my founding board members. And it just, I don't know, I started it. I always wanted to help kids. Like I just wanted to help kids, but I wanted to help kids go to college. And it's been 20 years later, 10,000 students more.
Oh my gosh. And families. Like you just don't listen, you don't just take kids, you take us too. Like you take us tired ass parents along with you for the ride. Because I had 2 of my children, I have 4 children, as you know, and 2 of them came through Higher Heights. And I dragged them, I made them go. They didn't want to go because they were like, oh, more school. But it really was the foundation for how they think about pursuing education.
Yeah. And like when you tell me that I drag the parents, the parents don't realize how much they need to be a part of this process. As much as I know you guys want to leave them alone and let them go. Like Jesse, Jesse Phillips, right? Jesse,
yes,
to our 20th anniversary event a couple of weeks ago, and we honored him. And he gets on the microphone and he said, we all dump the kids on Chaka. We just dump them on Chaka. And I just was cracking up, but I love that. I love that the families, you all, the community feels comfortable knowing that like we're gonna do right by you. We're gonna do right by your kids. I love it. I love it. And that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is a real testament to what you do. Because I've seen so many kids, and I've been sending people over there for years and years and years. Cause I was like, listen, you don't want to do this college thing by yourself. It is so, people think it's easy, but it is unbelievably difficult to do the FAFSA, to take these kids on college tours, I mean, that is a lot. And I was like, you know what, if I could outsource this,
give them the Chaka, give them the Chaka.
Let's give them the Chaka. Let's give them. So when you first started, what did you start with, and what do you have right now? What did you add or subtract in your 20 years of doing this work?
So what did I start with? I started with a thought. I started with $1. And literally, we only had 25 kids. And Jackie told me about Yale University and how there might be some kids over there who wanted to do some partnerships or whatever. So we literally were over, I think it's a health center or something like that, every Saturday. And we were just doing SAT test prep back then, and like character development around the financial aid process. And I don't know where those 25 students came from, because I had just gotten to New Haven. So that just tells you that like the need was there, right? Yeah. Nobody knew me. And I just started pushing out flyers. Like, let me tell you, I'm a Harlem girl. I'm a hustler. Like, I will go put flyers on your car. I will go put flyers in your mailbox. Like, I will go do what I did what I needed to do to put flyers in people's places, in barbershops and supermarkets. I remember going around to Shaw's, I think it was Shaw's supermarket back then, and I was posting up flyers around High Heights in the supermarket on my own. And we had 25 students, and it ballooned from there. And we did, I think, our first college tour maybe 3 years after that, like our big college tour. And I took those kids to like DC, Maryland, and we just kept it going. What I've added since then is we're no longer an after school program. Like that Saturday model was considered like an after school program. And so now we service from 25 kids to 1,000 kids every year. So we're in 3 schools in New Haven, 3 schools in Hartford, and I still run myself the traditional Saturday program. So we now have full-time staff. I have 6 full-time staff. They do the Monday through Friday stuff in schools. And I take the families who are in the greater New Haven area who want to do like that, still that old school Higher Heights Foundation program on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm with them. But yeah, we have 1,000 kids that we service now every year.
Wow. So that must be a plus to schools, particularly. Are you still doing SAT prep, and you're still doing, that's a lot, because SAT, as I recall, was hard when I was a kid, and I'd been out of high school 40 years. So,
and now you're getting ready for the LSAT.
Oh, girl, you gotta prep for that, because
now you know. Woo!
I mean, I'm in a prep program, and it's hard. And this is what I know, Chaka, and maybe you can speak to this. I don't know what we are doing in school education wise, but we are not training kids to think critically and logically about these kinds of things. Not so much to teach to a test, but I feel the deficits just doing this, right? Like I got undergraduate, master's degrees, and I feel the deficit. I feel it. So when you see kids coming in, do you clearly see the deficits? Do you see them? And how do you address them?
So that's a great question. The deficit is there. And I want to be clear. The deficit is not just there with our urban students. Let me just be clear. It is there with all of our students.
You never hear that though. You never hear that.
It's there. It's there. I want to be very, very clear. And the way that Higher Heights, I think what Higher Heights does is because students are coming in with a targeted focus, their internal motivation shifts. When you go to school, it's like, I gotta go to school. I gotta go do this. I just gotta go to these classes. I gotta, like it's manufactured. When you make that shift and you come to Higher Heights, whether you were dragged there by your mother named Babz or, you came on your own, like the shift just happens. But the other thing that I've noticed too is our community. Like we have a no nonsense approach to excellence. Like you can't come into Higher Heights and be average. Like it's like it's embedded in like the way that we are and the way that we approach the kids. And it's carried over into the parents. So even if the parent has this attitude, like I have parents who start with us and who are just like, I don't know what to do with my kid. By the time they're done with us, they're like, okay, we're doing this, we're doing this. So it's the culture, and schools need to adapt that mindset. It's culture. You can have the best curriculum in the world. You can have all the content that you want. But if the culture does not match the family and the kid, that kid is just going to go through school and just be manufactured, like a manufactured human. And that's, our culture is just built for our kids to be excellent, whether they decide to go to Gateway, because that is still excellence, or whether they decide to go to Yale, because that is excellence as well. Excellence for us is you being successful in whatever fits for you. And I think people know that about us, and there's no pressure to come in and say, oh, I'm going to a 4-year school. But if you don't want to, nothing wrong with that. Like, you're going to be excellent at Gateway. Like, we will make you the next president of Gateway Community College. So it's okay. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
That's the difference. Like, schools need to stop manufacturing babies.
Wow. That's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful. Because there's so much conversation around, how to teach children and how to teach kids. Like we're still stuck on how to teach children how to read, right? Like we are revisiting that conversation. And I'm like, man, if we are stuck on that, how are we training the next leaders if we can't come to a common ground around how to use phonics or not to use phonics?
But we have, even in our program, even though we're doing the SAT test prep, we do a lot of math in our program, a lot of math. But it becomes applied math because we're making the students' own financial decisions early on and making connections. Like when I'm in our sessions and we're talking about basic algebra, basic math, I literally have to pull in mathematical equations. And I remind them, I know you learned this in 9th grade. I know you learned this in 10th grade. And then when they apply it to real life situations and they're going, oh, okay. Now they get it. It's not that you can't teach them. They just can't make the connections to how it's applying to real life for it to sink in. That's the difference. You can teach them. We're not making it applicable for them to see why it's valuable. You can teach our students all day long.
So you 3 years in, you started touring colleges, right? You started taking kids. And I would imagine the majority of these kids is the first time they've ever been on somebody's college campus or been outside of their communities to get a taste of what this could be like. So talk a little bit about that thing behind that. Like what is your motivation for that?
When the smiles come, you see how I'm smiling when you say that, because we just got off last Friday night. We just came back from our week-long college tour. We do all the PWIs during the school year, right? PWIs, for those who don't know, stands for predominantly white institutions. So Connecticut is surrounded by PWIs. So we visit all the local schools, all the regional schools, but it's always that April or that spring break trip. It's always that trip that does it, because we're going Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, Maryland, DC. So
You're
our
hitting all the
kids,
HBCUs.
HBCUs, and for those who don't know, that stands for Historically Black Colleges and Universities. And yes, I'm taking Hispanic students on this trip. Yes, I've taken Caucasian students on this trip. And our students are just like, it's like Candyland. It's like, what is this? From the surrounding, if we're in a rural area, we go to Alabama, very rural. They're like, what is this? Right? Or we go to Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, and they see all these buildings. So now this generation only sees Metro Atlanta on Ratchet TV, right? So then we're driving through Metro Atlanta, and I'm like, this is where we are. But then we go to Dr. King's, the Dr. King Nonviolence Center, or we go to the Washington Memorial, and we see the Capitol. Like this generation just experienced January 6th. Like last week, we saw the Capitol, and they're able to make those connections and go, oh, this stuff is real. Like this isn't just a building that I see on TV. Like these things exist. I'll tell you what was so powerful is, and it's always, and I love it, Babz. Now when we go, we have kids on campuses. And so like when we go to Hampton, we're always calling our Higher Heights alum, hey, we're on campus, come meet us in the student union. Kids come down. Go to Morehouse, hey, we're on campus, we're in the student union. Norfolk, hey, we're on campus. And like our Connecticut kids get to see that other Connecticut students took the leap and like went out of state, and they're able to make connections and they're talking. So I'm out of the picture. It's just now it's kids talking to kids saying, yep, this is why I go here. This is what I do. This is what I do to have fun. I'm broke. I don't have any money. I don't have any food. I love my classes. You know, it's that. And even if we go local, we go to Southern, it's the same thing. We go to Central, it's the same thing. But it's always those out-of-state trips, like the light bulbs just go, they go off. And I that's why I do it. I be tired, Babz. I be tired.
Girl,
but
I know.
I love it because it's just like, it's those little light bulbs. That's why you do it.
Well, you know, now, Chaka, 20 years in, you've got a bunch of kids who have already graduated college.
Oh yeah, we're good. Like we have, if I can like flex, as they say.
Yes, you can.
Like I have kids who work for Google. I have kids who graduated from Yale. I have students who've graduated top of their class from North Carolina A&T. We have engineers in California. We have air pilots, first-time African-American air pilots who are making history. We have chefs. I have a chef who is the first Black chef who ever taught at the Culinary Institute of America. Like, I love my kids, and I still stay connected with them. Like, I reach out to them. Hey,
of course you do. Of course you do.
You know, like I have kids who are having kids now. Like, you know, but like they're in their careers. And on the flip side too, I have some kids who didn't finish. Like it's not, we have a great rate for high school graduation, but life happens. Life happens. And I have some kids who went to school and they didn't finish, but they're still mine. Like they're still part of, and I'm still proud of them because they've just decided like they want to take care of family now. They have other priorities, and it's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. And I, as long as they're doing great, that's all I care about, whatever great means for them.
Wow. So 20 years in, so that means you've built some good relationships with all the schools that you go visit. Like now they expect you. And if you don't show up, they're calling you up like, okay, when you gonna bring the next posse of kids through, right? I would imagine that's how it goes down. Like, okay, we didn't hear from Dr. Felder. Like, what's that? Somebody make a phone call to Connecticut.
That is true. That feels good. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like even we take kids to the HBCU event. We've been doing it We started it, we brought it to Connecticut. We've been doing that for 19 years. Every year they call me, how many kids you bringing down from Connecticut? And every year I'm like, I remember I brought 20, and then it was like 40, and it was like 50. And I remember one year I bought 10 buses, and it's just, I love it, Babz. And it's not like for me, it's just like people know what we're doing, and it's the pipeline, and like, no, we know who to go to and pull kids from Connecticut. And I just want the kids to be great, for them to have, if we can break down the barriers, that's all I care about.
Mm-hmm. And so tell me about some of the barriers. What barriers are you kicking down?
So there's this myth that students from the greater New Haven area, one, they are not developmentally ready. They don't have a good content or curriculum background, or they just don't have like the access. And for me, like that's a problem for me that I like solving. So if our students don't have access to get to or to find out about, like, that's our job. And that's a real barrier. There's, even in our own backyard, there's this myth that New Haven public school kids can't, or Hamden public schools can't. Like, that gets on my nerves. And I'm like determined to keep fighting that, fighting that.
So what do you say to schools, districts? I mean, or do you get to say, or do you have some say about, hey, this is what I'm noticing. You might want to think about this, that, and the other thing. Do you get to have some consult with school superintendents and say, I've been doing this for a long time, not trying to tell you how to run your schools, but you might want to think about this. I mean, do you get to do that? And if you do that, do they hear you?
So I get to do that. I have personal relationships with folks. I have professional relationships with folks over the years throughout the state. Majority of them are in our urban communities, Hartford, New Haven, Waterbury. And there are some communities who listen, and there are some communities who don't. And the communities who don't listen, it's a matter of, well, like, we do our own thing, we got it. I'm like, okay, but your kids are still, like, your families are still calling, so something's not meshing. But when I have those personal relationships with folks, they are able to listen. For the superintendents there are some superintendents who I can call, who I trust, and they trust me, and they ask me for support or advice or guidance, and I'm always there to support, because it's about, like, the greater, is the good, the community at whole. And if I can help any district look good in terms of how many kids are going to school, how many kids are getting access to college and career, it's a win-win for everybody.
I like that. You seem to have a very different, and we're both Delta, so there's a lot of us in the education system, right? There's like a gazillion of us. And you seem to have a very different approach. You have a very calm, positive approach to education. Like, I don't think I've ever seen you like, oh God, I hate this. Like, I don't think I've ever heard that out of your. I guess I've never seen any burnout. I know. Listen, I know you get frustrated. We all get frustrated, but I've not seen evidence of burnout. Like, I don't know. But
no,
maybe you do get burned out.
I do, but that's what my husband is for. He gets to burn all of that. And my board of directors, you talk to my board, they will tell you, they like, oh no. That's when we have those, let's go behind closed doors and talk it out. I do get burned out. I do get tired. But my mother was an educator, New York City public school educator for a little over 30 years.
Wow.
My father was a New York City police officer. My grandmother was a social worker for the city of New York. And I remember, my mother was a fourth grade public school teacher for years. And I hated going into her classroom as her own kid, but she loved her kids. And every year, she talks about it to this day, she would do this Motown review. She would teach her kids, and it wasn't during Black History Month. She would teach her kids everything about Motown. And like, she loved it. And she always talks about it. And anytime you run into any kid in New York City who was ever taught by Miss Jackson, they always talk about Motown, how much they know about Motown. And like, she was teaching them about music, about culture, about history, about life, like collaboration, coordination, singing. Like, the kids didn't even know they were learning all of this as a fourth grader, but it's a memory that they hold on to forever. Like,
Yeah.
That's my drive. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, if my mother, who is like over 70 now, can still talk about how much she did, not teaching them math, reading, writing, or, you know, whatever, but those experiences that made them better humans, like that's why, like, I get happy about it. But I'm not gonna lie, Babz, this joint is hard because adults are hard to work with in education. It don't be the kids, and you know that. The kids are fine. Kids are great. Kids are gonna be kids. I don't care what people say. But it gets hard because it's the adults that get in the way.
Mm, mm. So I know you do a lot of scholarship search, right?
Or
Because
yeah, you know
kids got to
somebody who
pay for
can write.
education.
You know anybody that can write my kids a check? These babies.
I need someone to write me a check when I start applying.
College is so expensive right now.
It is, but they say there's money out there, Chaka. But it's a far and wide search, though, right?
It's a part-time job getting scholarships. Like, you have to, like, we start the scholarship process with our kids early. Some kids commit to it, some kids don't. It's a part-time job getting scholarships.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard.
And college is not getting cheaper
or easier to get into.
Yeah.
Did you know that North Carolina A&T had 40,000 applicants and they only could take 3,000?
My God, they get 40,000 applicants.
I said, when I went down there last week, I said, I guess we got to start another HBCU because y'all don't have enough space. Like, we need to open up another school.
Send them across the street to Bennett.
That too, right? Like, level the
playing field. Johnson C. Smith and Charlotte. And
yeah, that's true. You're right. Like, and going down to Felder. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
There's enough of them. They just got to work together in terms of, listen, we got 40,000 applicants. Y'all look at some of these applicants and see who y'all could offer something to, you know, right. and neighboring, because listen, it's all South as far as I'm concerned. Right. So
they should start sharing applications, like put them in an applicant pool and just
they pick. Yeah, I think so.
I'm like, where did 40,000 kids come from?
Well, you know, it's the greatest. Let me make sure there's no Howard people listening. It's the greatest homecoming on the planet.
It is. Mm-hmm. That's what they say.
Turn to tell you.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
Although the Howard people would fight you on that, but okay, Howard. And so would the Grambling people, and so would the Florida A&M people. Yes. So everybody get a little piece of this fight. So Chaka, when you think about the future, what do you want for Higher Heights? What is the dream?
I always wanted our own physical building. And I think that's probably why that's why I'm a co-founder of Booker T. Washington Academy in New Haven. I always wanted our own, like, a building, like, so not a school, but like a building. I've always dreamed there's a property downtown New Haven I've always wanted to buy. And that's my dream.
Where is it? You tell me where it
is. It's taken right now. It's right down by Dunkin' Donuts. It's where the military, I think the military has that location, but it's all glass. And I want that space. I want it right there. I want that space so bad for so many different reasons. And I just see us being able to do so many different things for the community in a space like that right there. That's what I want. That's my dream. Now, my second dream, well, my first dream actually did come true a couple of months ago. I always dreamt that we would be a premier partner with the university. And the University of New Haven reached out to me last summer and said, hey, we've been watching you guys for a long time. You sent a lot of kids to us, and we want to partner with you, like, officially. And
whoa.
yeah, Babz. Can I tell you what what just happened? Because I've been crying since August. The partnership with Higher Heights and UNH is a formal partnership, signed an MOU, black and white, with the university in perpetuity. Students who come through directly through Higher Heights will earn a $20,000 scholarship per year to go to UNH. Per year. You know how much money that is?
Yeah, girl. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we, on the front end, to help our kids get in, UNH is also offering Higher Heights students free courses. So they can take free courses prior to getting into UNH. Now, if the students choose not to go to UNH, they can still take those college courses and take them wherever they want to go, Southern, Central, whatever. But that alone, that's like $80,000. Wow. So if Higher Heights is now working with, right now, we have 1,000 students in our database that we're physically working with this school year. We've had a little over 100 apply to UNH.
Wow.
This year. And I'm still counting those numbers, but that dollar, Higher Heights, when you asked me earlier about barriers, Higher Heights being that entity to open up access, $80,000 a kid. Okay, you don't want to go to UNH. Okay, fine. But if you go to UNH, you want to study criminology, criminal justice. UNH is one of the top schools, is the top school in the state of Connecticut when it comes to criminal justice. Their engineering program is premier. They have an amazing business program. Like, UNH is a great institution, right? And you want to partner with little old Higher Heights to provide access for 1,000 babies, Black and brown children? Like,
yeah.
I'm just humbled.
I love it. That's a wonderful thing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Because that'll, first of all, it'll take a financial burden off a lot of students. And like you said, it's a very fine institution. They're getting a world-class education. So that's, that's worth everything right there. And I like it. I just like it. I like it
too. I like the investment that the president is making. And then we have some other things and align with that partnership that's coming down the pipe too. But that one was immediate, and it applied to this year's graduating class. I have kids this year who are class of 2023 who are going to be walking on UNH's campus debt free. Like, that's so. Look, if you think about it, if a student goes to New Haven Public Schools, for example, and they're part of Higher Heights, they are also Promise eligible, and then they also love Mr. Barber. They also get the New Haven Scholarship Fund.
Look, that's a win. That's a win any which way you cut it.
That's a win any which way you cut it.
It's a win all the way around.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Now, I'm not trying to go back in time to raise no more children, but I'll tell you.
Listen. Yeah. And yeah, that's why we're here.
Well, I'm over the moon, ecstatic for your success of this program. In 20 years, I was talking about this in my hour before. I was like, you know what? I cannot believe it's been 20 years. Like, it just feels like yesterday that I met you and you were talking about this, and
people were looking at me like I was crazy. They were like,
you want to do what, girl? You want to do what?
They were like, who are you? Where did you just come from? What are you talking about?
So there you go. There it is right there. You can look at it. And,
yep, look at our UNH partner right there at the top.
Yeah, I see it. And I didn't even notice it until you said it, right? Like now I like see it. Like, oh, yeah. I see it. I see it. So
and our program, like I said, we're in 3 high schools. But if families still want like that original Higher Heights after school touch, applications are open now. It's at the top of the screen. They can apply. And enroll. I keep the Saturday program capped. I would love to take 1,000, but I can only take a few, like 40, 50 kids. Because if you want the bigger program, you know, at Hill House, we're at Hill House High School in the Community and Hill Regional Career High School in New Haven. And then in Hartford, we're at Weaver, Hartford High, and Buckley High School. So they can, you know, get those experiences directly through those schools. But after school, the Saturday program is me. You get me directly on Saturdays and Sundays.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm so proud of your success. And if I had more time, would you have to come back? Because you know I want to talk about fitness, and I didn't get a chance to talk about the Legends Ball because like you just had it. You know, I didn't get invited, but
yes, you did.
Did I? Oh,
yes, you did. You're on my mailing list. You got an invitation. You better make sure it didn't come back to me. Yes, you did.
I'll be there next year. Let me tell you something. I saw the picture. I was like, wait, why am I not there? So, but no, I love that whole concept of what you do with that, you know, because that gets them ready for the real world when they start to go places and have to dress up and be appropriate and, you know, learn some skills and, you know, how to be in fancy places, which is if you don't have that experience, you don't know that experience. So high five to you for just covering all the bases for the young people.
Thank you.
All the bases. I love you, Dr. Felder. You are one of my favorite people, and I'm such a fangirl.
Thank you.
So happy 20th. And you're just gonna come back on and we're gonna talk some more.
Okay. All right, put that music back on. You were jamming. I was like, I'm into the music. You was jamming.
All right, Harry, hit it. I'll be back tomorrow. Dr. Chaka Felder, y'all go to Higher Heights and check them out. And if you know young people, parents, kids over there. Thank you, Chaka.
I love you, girl. Thank you so much.
Love you.